We looked very briefly in the last talk about the apostle, prophet, pastor, evangelist and teacher, which are the 5 ministry gifts that St. Paul gives us a taxonomy of in Ephesians chapter 4. You might want to look at that chapter in your own time. And the reason I mentioned it wasn't to be controversial. I do believe in those 5 ministry gifts, by the way. But it wasn't to be controversial. It was because I wanted to introduce the idea of something that has come to the fore since World War II, and it's called the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. So as I said, I was going to introduce something completely on a tangent in this talk. Some of you will be familiar with Myers-Briggs, some of you won't. It's based on Jungian psychology, and it's used in some church settings, and it's also used a lot in industry and so forth around the world. Right, let's give you a bit of background. Catherine Cook Briggs was born 1875, she died in 1968, and her daughter was Isabel Briggs Myers. She was born in 1897 and died in 1980, which is really relatively recently. And they took Carl Jungian psychology. Jung, of course, was born in 1875, the same year as Catherine Cook Briggs. I don't think they ever knew each other, by the way. And he died in 1961. And I know when I was at university, I had to do Psychology 101. And it really, really turned me off psychology, because I would be listening to a lecture. Apart from the fact there were the whole year group, right after lunch, we were full, and I'd sit on the steps. I've actually been back there and sat on the steps of Cadman Hall, Bede College, Durham, and I would fall asleep in the back, sitting on the steps. I was so bored, because my heart just didn't bear witness to Freudian psychology at all. And then we'd then be introduced to Jungian psychology, which is in complete dichotomy of theory, really. And Jung and Freud did actually meet each other, and I think Jung sat under Freud for a while. I don't, without checking it up, this is just stuff I remember. I don't remember much from it, but there you are. But Jungian psychology struck a real chord in my heart. It just resonated with me, and that stuck with me all these years. And then about 25 years ago, I came across the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, the MBTI, and this thing has, it classifies 16 different personality types. Now, it's a self-administered test, so obviously there's a lot of subjective input there. But the one thing I'll say about it is, and I'm not a licensed practitioner of it, although I've certainly considered training to be one, and still haven't ruled that out, because I really see the value of the MBTI. But over the last 20 years, I've done different instruments of this, and every time they come out with the same personality type for me. I then did the instrument under a control condition by a licensed practitioner with full feedback, and I still came out with the same result. Now, interesting, when I did it with a licensed practitioner, it was a small group of Christians, actually connected with Holy Trinity Brompton in London, so you know it, and we did it over a period, I think 5 or 6 weeks, one evening a week. And we not only were able to feedback our own personalities, we were able to see how our personalities interacted with one another. And that was life-changing for me, for my career, and for the way I interacted with other people, how I perceived other people. It really helped me to understand how to work as a team. And we're talking about community building, so we could just say community building first starts with team building. And the Myers-Briggs is a great way of building a team. So let's talk more about teams next talk.